Good afternoon, class. Today is Thursday, May 6, 2021, and as of 4:25 in my clock, you are all here and no one is absent. So I hope you are feeling well in this very, very hot afternoon. So let's proceed to our new lesson for today. So next. I have here a sample sentence, so anyone can read the sentence in the screen. Anyone?
Ma'am,
Yes, Miss Silva.
you must wear a mask outside.
Thank you. So, what do you think the sentence implies? You must wear a mask outside. Anyone?
Ma'am,
Yes. Yes,
the
please.
sentence implies an obligation, and that is to wear a mask outside.
Okay, thank you, Miss Silva. That's right. The sentence implies an obligation. But next, I have here a same sentence, but I changed one word. Is there any changes in the meaning of the sentence?
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone? Yes. Okay, later on we will determine the changes occur between the word must and should when we are using that in the sentence. So next is I have a set of sentences. One is you have to observe social distancing. Two, you ought to carry an alcohol. So I want you to identify which of the following sentences implies or expresses stronger obligation. Is it the first sentence or the second? Anyone?
Ma'am,
Anyone? Yes,
Ma'am?
Miss Ordonio.
The second sentence po? I'm not sure po.
So, actually, the first sentences implies a stronger obligation than the second sentence. So, as you can see, I have highlighted different words from sentence number 1 to last sentences. First is must, then should, have to, and ought to. So, these words are called modal verbs of obligation. So, what is modal verbs of obligation? Next slide, please. Modal verbs of obligation are modals used to express advice, suggestion, obligation, duty, and need. So when we are communicating to other people and we want to express an advice, suggestion, obligation, duty, or need, we have to use these words, these modals, so that the receiver of our message can easily understand that we are implying advice, suggestion, obligation, duty, or need. So there are two types of modal verbs of obligation. Next slide, please. First is firm obligation or necessity. Next is moral obligation or recommendation. You just have to remember that when we say firm obligation or necessity, it implies stronger obligation. The other one implies weak obligation. Okay? Next. The following are the modals verb of obligation. First is must. Must is used to express personal obligation, and the speaker personally thinks that it is important. So when we are using must, we want to express the obligation based on our personal preferences, based on our own preferences. For example, sentence number 1. We must be at the airport at 6 a.m. to check in early. So the speaker here wants to imply that they need to be at the airport at 6 a.m. For the speaker, it is necessary to be at the airport at 6 a.m. for them to check in early. He thinks that being at the airport at 6 a.m. is important or necessary. Next is, you must see a doctor now. So the speaker here implies that it is important to see a doctor. Let's assume that the receiver of the message looks sick, so that the speaker obliging him or her to see a doctor. Clear?
Yes
Do you have
po.
any question?
None so far.
Okay. Okay, let's proceed. Next. Have to. Have to is used to express when something is necessary because of official rules. So I highlighted the words official rules. The speaker implies expression from facts and not from his own feelings. A while ago, when we are using must, the obligation we are pertaining is just from our own or personal preferences. But this modal is based on official rules. We are implying an obligation based on official rules, law, or facts, not just an opinion. Okay? Example, you have to wear ID inside the school premises. So you have to wear your ID because there's an specific official rules that's saying that you have to wear it inside the school premises. Next is they have to left their things before entering. Let's assume that the place they are entering is not allowing them, or there's an official rule that they are not allowed to bring their things inside that place. So that the speaker said that they have to left their things before entering. Okay? The first two modals are under the first type of modal verbs of obligation. Okay? The next one is should. Should is under the second type of modal verbs of obligation, which is moral obligation or recommendation. So when we are using should, we are expressing an advice or we are suggesting what the best thing to do. So, and that suggestion or that advice is a good idea, so that we are suggesting it. So the next modal is ought or ought to. So this modal is used the same way as should, but it is not normal as should. Ought to is a little more formal. So let's say you are in a formal setup, or you are writing a formal letter or academic paper. So, and you want to recommend or suggest an obligation. So instead of using should, you can use ought to because it is a little more formal than should. For example, students ought to attend this webinar. This might help them. So let's assume that the context of this example is in a formal setup so that they use the modal ought to. Any question from the rules discussed? Clarification?
None po, ma'am.
Okay, let's move on. So I have here a set of sentences that express or implying an obligation. So all you need to do is to choose the right modal in the parentheses. So number 1, anyone volunteer?
Ma'am,
Yes, Miss Silva.
in Philippines, We, we have to pay tax.
Very good. We have to pay tax because we use have to because the obligation expressing in the sentence number one is based on official rule, or there's a law about paying tax, right, here in our country. So we have to use the modal have to because it is based on official rule. Number two, anyone?
Ma'am,
Yes, please.
citizens must citizens have to vote for 2020 elections.
Yes, very good. Have to vote for 2022 elections because there's a law, or voting for an election is our social responsibility or social right. So we have to do that. Number three, any volunteer?
Ma'am,
Yes, please.
my sister must to do her activity tonight.
Yes, very good. My sister must to do her activity tonight because the speaker here just advising or suggesting her sister to do her activity tonight based on his personal thinking. It is a must to do her activity tonight. Next is you blank be here today.
Ma'am,
You must be here today. So the answer is must based on own personal preference of the speaker. You must be here today. Next.
ma'am,
Eh,
should po.
Yes, should. Very good. She should accept the offer from the university. That's pretty good. So the speaker here is advising the receiver of the message to accept the offer from the university. Num last sentence, please. Anyone?
Ma'am,
Yes, Miss Silva.
he ought to see the historical places in Italy first.
Yes, very good. He ought to see the historical places in Italy first. So the speaker here is also suggesting, but in a little more formal way. So do you understand the rules, the different rules in using modal verbs of obligation? Anything you want to clarify? Questions? I guess none. So let's proceed to the next activity. So for this activity, pretend that you are in a hospital for checkup. Create a short conversation that uses different modal verbs of obligation: must, have to, should, or ought. Please take note of different rules that we have discussed earlier. Be careful in using the different modal verbs of obligation, okay? So you can you can create a short conversation between a doctor or a patient or anything inside the hospital, okay? So I will give you at least 3 to 5 minutes to do this activity. So guys, are you ready? Are you ready to present your work in the class? Just a short conversation. Just please take note of different rules discussed, okay?
Ma'am, we're ready po.
Yes? Okay, go on.
Yes, sir, second po. Ma'am, we need another member po.
So,
Ma'am,
Zarina will play the mother of the patient, then the doctor is Miss Lizelle Silva, and
the daughter.
the patient will be Kairis. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Please.
Okay, you can start now.
Okay. Okay. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning. Have a seat.
My daughter is feeling unwell. She has a headache and sore throat for days, and so I suggest that we should go to the nearest clinic.
I must run some tests to her to know what is her condition. Can you mention any other things that you felt unusual?
I feel a little bit dizzy whenever I stand, and I have no appetite for days.
You should have to take rest. I think those are symptoms of having a low blood. You must eat healthy foods. Also, you should avoid staying late at night. You have to take vitamins for your blood. I suggest that you must take ferrosulfate.
Do I have to undergo to some lab tests?
Yes, I will schedule it. You must be back here tomorrow.
What else to bring, Doc?
Nothing. You must just be here at 9 a.m.
Thank you, Doc.
So, great job, class. You use the different modal verbs correctly, and I'm so happy that you learned a lot. So, any clarification again? Anything you want to clarify about the lesson today?
Ma'am po.
Do you understand it clearly?
Yes.
Okay. So if that is the case, thank you for joining our class today and have a nice day ahead. God bless us all.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
ma'am.
You, ma'am.